What's up?
Did you hear about all the crazy shit that went down with Dr. Disrespect yesterday?
I watched some of the shit Asmongold was
Ah,
watching the videos, so I was watching some of that.
what was he saying? Or was he really just watching as well?
I think he's watching and bringing up some good points.
What was he all saying?
He was mainly like he had to focus on like the actual words that were being used were extremely carefully like decided. Like it's not like Doctor Disrespect was just what's the best way to say it? Like he was very careful with the words that he used, like such as when he was describing the person being a certain age, or not certain age, but not being considered a minor in their jurisdiction.
Jurisdick.
So something like that. So it's just in general, it's still a very sus. Just because it's not illegal doesn't mean it's not sus as fuck.
Well, so more so what I gathered from it. Whoa. To make
And
it
he
look
also brought up
interesting.
the same thing that I did, whereas all right, if this person was actually like had no basis of what he was claiming, why is the dude not being sued to fucking oblivion? And that's not happening as far as we know.
Well, okay, so there's two reasons for that. One, the lengthy arbitration process, but two,
Well, that
in
doesn't
civil,
matter.
agreed, but it's something to consider.
No, it's not.
But the second
For someone that's like
being,
worth, for someone worth like tens of millions, like any sort of defamation, it's worth going to court over.
oh, and again, I agree, but it is still a lengthy process. But number two, the fact that Cody Connors is not worth dick. He's not worth a fucking thing. So he wouldn't, Dr. Disrespect wouldn't get anything out of it.
Except
I
clearing
guess
his name.
legitimacy, but
Yeah,
eh.
exactly. When you're like I said, when you're worth tens of millions of dollars and your entire career is based on a persona or you as a person, it is any amount of money that you have to pay is going to be worth it.
Yeah, I see that. I do see that.
Doesn't matter how long it's going to be. Doesn't matter like how much you have to pay.
Why is this arguably the coolest castle in this entire game? And yet it's all destroyed, so it doesn't matter. That's sad. But you okay, so here's the other thing. So what wasn't being considered here, and you're not wrong, he did mention it, right? But what wasn't being considered here by a vast majority of people that were actually like responding to this live stream is Twitch themselves denied any concept of sexual conduct. Like they did not do anything associated to an investigation beyond what Dr. Disrespect claims was the partner manager and his subsequent actions. But other than that, any element that it could have been escalated up to, presumably it was, but it went nowhere. Under California Law 288.2, it makes it thoroughly illegal for anyone over the age of 18 to discuss sexual concepts of any kind, whether, in whole or in part, flirting, otherwise, it doesn't really matter. Any concept sexually relating to that of a minor is thoroughly illegal. And then in tandem to that, U.S. Code Title 18, 2422, subsection B outlines the same concept, but on a federal level. So no matter what would have happened here, there isn't a way that this would have been legal if the subject of the conversations was in any way sexual. So I'm inclined to believe him when he says that they in fact did not say anything sexual to each other, because there were multiple layers of scrutiny associated to the law on this particular case, most notably relating to that of the lawsuit between Twitch and Dr. Disrespect. But if there was something overtly sexual in nature that was, interpreted or capable of being interpreted, as for example, sexting a minor, then it would have been found and it would have been prosecuted, at least under one of those two different statutes.
Well, you also have to consider intent.
Agreed. But that wouldn't have mattered in terms of the sexual concepts.
It does. Matters a lot.
Not until later. That wouldn't have been
No, it
for
matters
the.
a lot. That's why. That's why it's so hard for like. That's why when you have sting ops and shit, like with what Chris Hansen was doing,
Mhm.
they had to be very careful. That way, they didn't let those fucking weirdos get out with no consequences.
Yeah, they had to get a confession of sorts, and
Exactly. So, like, even if the guy was talking, like I don't know, it just I can't say like definitively what it was, but it's still fucking weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
the
But I'm
the
not gonna
term,
suggest
the
he's a
verbiage
pedo.
that he's using, and everything. It's pretty clear, like what it could have been. Like, it doesn't matter if he's like directly
How do I get out of here?
soliciting something. It could still be inappropriate conversation.
Yeah, of course.
And
But then it could
you'll never
also
know what
just
it is until the
until-
conversations are out,
yeah.
and they're not going to.
Yeah, I doubt it as well. I
They
doubt
would have
it.
already. I mean, it's.
Or Twitch
I don't
would
know.
have. When
I don't
suspect
think it's
Twitch would
worth
have
like
more to-
thinking about, because it's fucking streamers. Like, who gives a fuck?
True. I mean, I guess it's relevant. It's relevant on my end just because of, but just because I engage in the streaming community. But that's kind of neither here nor there, regardless, right? It doesn't really matter all that much. Point being, though, with respect to Doctor Disrespect in the scenario as it's laid out so far, it does seem as though by far and wide, whatever would have been considered to be, because you have to remember, all of this started because of the accusation that it was sexual in nature. None of that seems to have been met out by the evidence as it stands, with respect to how the law would have pursued this, given the not only the level but also the scrutiny associated. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's like, if he was actually a bad dude, if he was actually trying to prey on a minor, if he was actually trying to utilize his influence for ill, then this would be obvious at this point. We would have seen an investigation that, was pretty conclusive at this rate in time.
I mean, I'm not gonna act like I'm some legal scholar, but like I said, there's a lot to do with jurisdictions. There's a lot to do with just intent, and that has a big role to play in it. That's like literally. That's why they had to. Like, that's literally one of the most foundational bases on how to catch a predator worked. Is they would fucking have to be extremely careful to not let those fucking people just get away. Like, they had to get them like saying and soliciting shit. So I still don't think that he's like clean and clear
Yeah.
on his actions, and I don't know.
I want to see the
I don't know
actual
what I'll do,
messages at
but-
this point, to be honest.
I have to take our dog out though.
Okay.
He has to take a piss, so I'll be back like 5 minutes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and save here. Because apparently I've done something wrong. There we go. Yes, this is a bridge of, or a ladder of paintbrushes. That's a thing. Okay. I have to go back through here. Down through here. Okay. No. But we can get a level up, so that's based. Ooh, repair hammer. I think we need to go Chapel Undercroft.
I hope. Good day.
Well met. Farewell.
Hmm.
Kvatch is
I'm
finished.
just tired.
Good to.
Thanks.
How could the Nine let this?
I don't know how to get in there. I forget.
When we're done with all... Damn it! We can't open that gate from out here. And the only way to get into the... Hurry and find Barrich Inian. He's... What?
Huh. I want to see what happens if you talk to him.
Be quick about it, mortal.
Oh. Huh. Huh. That was interesting.
Damn! We saw the smoke from the Gold Road while out on patrol. How can we help? We'll be right behind you. That's right.
Okay. Why not? Okay. Oh, jeez. Lockpick.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think anything that he said really clears any questions. He's very vague in his vocabulary. Or not vague. He was actually very precise, as a matter of fact.
I would say so.
Whereas you say, yeah, he wasn't sexting. That doesn't mean he wasn't fucking like hitting on someone like that, like a fucking minor. It doesn't clear that. There was no. He said that there was no intent to meet up, or not even intent, but he said
No
that they
plan.
never planned on meeting up or anything like that.
Yeah.
Where that's very precise too. That doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't say something like, maybe I'll see you at TwitchCon or something like that. Something very vague, but has underlying meaning.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. That
Especially,
that starts to get into
especially
questionable
with,
realms.
especially with messaging on a platform like that. Like, I'm sure he's very careful with what he was saying.
My question on that would be, was it out of the norm for what he would say to any other person on average? If it wasn't, then at that point I'm more inclined to dismiss. But if it was,
Well,
then
that
that's
might
where
even be worse.
it could be. It
It
just
might
depends.
even be worse though.
Yeah, it
Like
just
if
depends.
that's how he normally talks to 16-year-old girls, that's a fucking issue. You know?
Well, I was more
And
so
some-
including just everybody, like every age bracket, every instance. If he's just because the stress that he was putting on the scenario is that he consistently speaks to people via Twitch, or in this case, Twitch messages or whispers. He would consistently speak to them in a manner that would generally include things like gaming content, gaming politics, various things. But it was, from what he was suggesting, normal conversations by far and wide. So if that's the case, then was this honestly, we just, in order for anyone to say one way or the other at this point, we have to see the actual messages themselves. There's nothing else that can really be gleaned Otherwise, we're... Oh, he just died in the corner. Otherwise, we're effectively just grasping at straws the entire time. There's nothing else there. It could be really bad, or it could be absolutely nothing.
That's kind of why I was saying, like, there's no point in really talking about it.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, the way that you speak to all people in your community, you shouldn't. You should not fucking ever be like that. If you know for a fact, okay, my demographics are between 14 years old and 40, there's no fucking reason for you to ever be speaking to someone in the lower age bracket the same way that you would be speaking to someone in the higher age bracket, right? Like, that's...
Yeah.
You shouldn't. I don't give a fuck about any societal standards, anything like that. I don't give a fuck what these kids know nowadays, what they don't know. You don't fucking... Especially if you are, like, such a big name, like Dr. Disrespect, you should be doing your best to be leaving a good impression.
Yeah.
Not,
That's fair.
not fucking further corrupting children. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, all kids are pure and this and that. No. I
Definitely
was a
not.
kid too, but that doesn't mean you feed into it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with culture around rapping, where a whole lot of it is about drugs and fucking all this other bullshit. Drugs, theft, robbery, like all the most degenerate shit that you can do. Guess what? A lot of people do end up fucking gravitating towards those actions in real life.
Yeah.
Like the impression you leave on people has consequences. And if you aren't aware of that, you probably shouldn't be in a position of
All right, this is it.
fame among children.
Yeah.
Right?
But this also cuts both ways too, and I think that this at least can highlight. I'm sure that somebody eventually will make this point, in which case, with respect to like some of these TikTok influencers that are spreading even concepts like the LGBT agenda and all that, that also needs to stop. If we're gonna hold people to this standard, then we need to hold them to this standard, and that just needs to be the way that it is, flat out.
Yeah. Yep.
There we go.
But then you also have to recognize that certain things aren't going to be regulated by law,
Yeah.
where they would fall under freedom of speech. So
Well, I mean, I don't honestly. I don't think
People-
that. I don't think that there should ever be a fucking excuse for people to be talking to kids like 6 and 7 years old and telling them that it's okay for daddy and
Where's
daddy's
the town?
friend to love each other. Like, that's fucking weird. That's just fucking strange.
Did you find? At least this is safe. Thank you. I shall make sure it is here.
I mean, to a certain extent, like I don't think a gay couple shouldn't be allowed to explain to their child why they're different than a
That's
regular
fine, too.
married
Yeah, that's fine.
couple.
You too.
No issues there.
like I
because
said,
ultimately that's a parent, right?
And that's where there should be the division between what is going to be regulated by law and what is going to be regulated by society itself. So you shouldn't be, I don't think that there should be some fucking government regulatory agency that determines what speech is good and what isn't. I think that should be left up to people.
Fair enough, I suppose.
If you notice someone is a fucking creep and it dances the lines of legality, well, maybe people themselves should take it into their own hands. Boycott. Fucking do whatever you have to.
Not an unfair point. Oh, come on. There we go.
And then also I understand that when it comes to law,
A pleasure to
it's not you're innocent until proven guilty. However, that's not how it works
Can I
in
interest you in some of my wares?
the public space.
No.
Like-
yeah.
When you're appealing to how the public sees you, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to prove yourself innocent.
And we can talk about
Fine
whether we think that
transaction.
that's right or wrong, but that's really irrelevant. Like, truth be told, it's an irrelevant.
I think I think it is right. I don't think I think as far as government having to prove you guilty, I think they should be held at a much higher standard
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
than
May I interest
your
you
average
in some
everyday
of my
person.
fine wares?
No, what I'm meaning is the court of public opinion concept. If we can debate on whether or not we think that's right or wrong, but that's really irrelevant. The reality of the matter is it is that way. So doesn't really matter beyond that.
You got a great deal there.
I don't think there is any question about
Make me a bit
that
better
because
than
you have shit like Casey Anthony. The bitch clearly killed her fucking kid.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. They couldn't prove it in court. Does that mean everybody should see her as a good mother? I don't think so.
No, yeah, probably not. Probably not advised. Hmm.
Be right back 1 second.
Yeah.
What? You want me? What the fuck do you expect? What? Crazy how Lupo just turns on people? Bitch, what? You want me? What the fuck do you expect? What? You should hold every person that you respect accountable for their mistakes too. So in the situation where a person that I was working with consistently on both game development and my career as a streamer at the same time, we had collaborated multiple times. Suddenly it turns out that years ago he tried to message a minor to solicit them for sex, and it got caught, and that's why it didn't happen. You expect me to not turn my back? Bro, y'all, there's no way you do not have fucking brain damage from this. There's absolutely no way. If anywhere along there, it's fine. You got something fucked up in your head, dude. I don't give a shit. Clip it, put it on fuck, dude. He messaged a 17-year-old when he was in his late 30s with a child, trying to solicit them for sex. And every single time he talks about it, it's going to be sugar-coated. It's going to be dumbed down. Because at what point do you expect someone to say, yeah, I'm a fucking teenager? Do you think he's going to say that? Fuck no. He's going to make it look better for himself every single time. There is no place along that. It doesn't matter if it's Tyler. If it was my fucking brother, I would say the same shit. Because you do not defend that. There's no defending it. Okay? Get your fucking head out of the gutter. The brain rot is fucking killing some of you, and it blows my fucking mind. Yeah, he's gonna have a fuckload of people over there that are watching it because they don't give a shit. They just want their fucking balloon animals from their clown to move on because that's the community that he's grown. That's fine, whatever. I don't give a shit. But if you expect me to associate with that, or anybody that has any respect for themselves to associate with that in any way, you're fucking lost, dude. It's very clear cut. He said on Twitter himself that he messaged a minor and they were inappropriately. He said those words himself. Yeah, he went and deleted it, tried to edit it multiple times. But y'all, what the fuck is wrong with you? Pull your heads out of your asses. This is not to argue about. This ain't like support the, this isn't a fucking, this isn't a cultural thing. Some singular event and say, this is a dude who tried to fuck a teenager. Done. Yeah, well, Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld's fucking gross too. I see people bring that shit up all the time. Still disgusts me as well. Seinfeld's a shit show anyway, but that's besides the point. It's that. That's it. Done. He messaged a 17-year-old while in his late 30s trying to fuck. Done. The end. Got it? Don't be fucking weird. Log out of your PCs, go out, touch grass, and think about reality. Is there a place for forgiveness? Not for me. There's some shit that you just don't do, man. I don't know, trying to fuck a teenager doesn't seem like the right thing to do to me. Anyway, hey, where you got? Crazy. A fucking. This isn't a.
Sass. Can I help you? What's wrong? Food? Baby? What is all that? That is just orgasmic? It's belly scratches. See, Brandon, this is the issue that I have, right? So, Dr. Lupo just apparently went live on Twitch and was saying that he's fucking tried to solicit a minor for sex. Like, that was what Dr. Disrespect did. There's no fucking evidence of that
Come back.
at all. There's nothing to point that
Let's see
direction.
what we've got here.
It's the insinuation of a bunch of fucking lepers on that of the internet.
You too.
Like, I actually have a substantial fucking problem with the interpretations that people are casting.
What do you want?
Because
I can
if
show you.
if they can do it to Dr. Disrespect, right? They can take something so vague as the word inappropriate and extrapolate that out to mean that of sexual misconduct with a minor, then they can do it to quite literally anyone for any purpose, especially in today's day and age, in which case political, I guess you could say assassination is oh so fucking common, especially amongst the famous, where if you do not parrot what it is that is the in vogue opinion, you will just be canceled. That is a fucking danger to basically everybody who ever has any aspirations any time ever of getting famous. It's a fucking problem. It's a substantial problem, and it can't be underwritten. What Dr. Disrespect stated in his actual X post was not a problem, morally or otherwise. There are a billion different concepts in the human fucking tongue that are inappropriate to discuss with teenagers. As you said, it happened with us on a regular basis, regardless of what the concept was. Drugs are an inappropriate concept to discuss amongst teenagers, but it happens every single day. Jokes, 9 times out of 10, are inappropriate because nobody's telling Christian jokes. It's not a thing. A majority of fucking comedians' jokes are not appropriate for kids. And that's the issue that I have with this. It is so vague, and yet it's being used to pin somebody to a cross, and I don't fucking like it. It doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well with me in the slightest. If like, let me be absurdly clear. If he said I was sexting a minor, then I would have a completely different take.
Hello.
What? Oh. Does that make sense? Wait, Brandon, are you there? Evidently not. I was talking to myself. Oh. Oh.
Tidings.
Funny.
All right, I'm back.
So, I guess Dr. Lupo came out and he made a statement on it as well. And here's the fucking issue that I have with this, Brandon. This is the plain text issue, as blunt as I can possibly fucking put it. Dr. Lupo overtly stated that Dr. Disrespect was soliciting a minor for sex. That is what he said, verbatim. That's why he, turned his back on him, this, that, and the other. There is absolutely no fucking evidence to suggest that whatsoever. Nothing. The term inappropriate could mean 1 billion different things. It could mean a joke. And in 99% of cases, jokes are inappropriate for teens. Flat out. They just are. Because they're going to touch some subject, in which case is not generally considered to be appropriate for a teenager, but it's done so in a joking capacity for good reason. Because it makes light of the issue, and it's not supposed to be focusing on X issue in itself. And in fact, I would even go so far as to say that it's integral at this point to humor as it stands in the society that we live in. Sex, for example, is just something that's funny based on basically anyone beyond the age of 13, and sometimes even slightly younger than that. They joke about it freely, and they engage in comedy that routinely makes fun of said subjects. So even just the concept of broaching a sexual-oriented joke isn't something that I would condemn somebody over, and then subsequently cancel them for. It's just not. Because it's fucking everywhere. Why
is it everywhere?
Because that's just the society that we live in. There was a sexual revolution that had occurred in the 60s. It's everywhere because Democrats saw fit to inundate that, the world in which we live in with sexual freedom. Like, truthfully, we're sitting here executing one of the most famous streamers ever to exist over the word inappropriate and minor, or words inappropriate and minor, in which case is a non sequitur to the actual problems that exist, in which case we have people that are overtly trying to get people to transition their teenagers. Like, that is a substantial problem that actually has real world consequences, by contrast to and from all accounts, everything I can associate to what was said yesterday by Dr. Disrespect were jokes and or passive conversation.
What's this about?
Because that's what he claims it to be. Because I can't sit there and suggest, oh, why are you, like, people are allowed to redact prior statements. They're allowed to suggest that there are reasons beyond, face value as to why a statement was made. You're allowed to do it in court, and you're allowed to do it in public as well. I see no reason why, for example, it should be static that, oh, he was inappropriately texting a minor via Twitch Whispers, and that has to mean that he was sexting a minor or speaking to illicit materials with a minor. I have no reason to associate that whatsoever. Because, again, it could mean a billion different things. And we've already agreed that unless there's going to be some actual measure of, like, objective wrongdoing that's applied to this via screenshots or something of that nature, then going beyond the pale to suggest that it's anything but inappropriate, in which case is so vague that there's nothing that can be drawn from that, it's just it's a fool's errand.
Well, I don't think anybody should be trying to make any conclusions unless like he actually just releases the conversations.
Which I'm sure he has, truth be told, because they would have been pertinent to his lawsuit with Twitch.
If he did, then people would be going over it.
Yeah, and I think that I think that it's in his best interest to release them.
Yeah. But beyond that, I don't think anybody should give a fuck. Why do people care so much about this fucking dude that's just like,
because
sure, he's a face for
Twitch,
but
it speaks to a sickness in society. I think that that's ultimately the reason why I care and why many other people care too. The reality is they're assassinating somebody associative to a vague word with what is otherwise considered like standard conversation, at least as far as
it's
this
not
claim.
standard. I mean, it really isn't. Anything to do with fucking minors, you have to be careful.
Of course.
And people should be more aware of what they're saying and doing. Like, I don't think there's anything where it's like oh well, it's just for a casual conversation.
Well, that's
Like,
what he's claiming it
no,
was just
I-
back and forth associated with the games and
I don't think you
various
should be
other
swearing
subjects.
in front of kids. I don't think you should be fucking swearing in front of kids. Like, it's just you. You're the fucking ones raising these people. Like, these are gonna be grown adults soon. Like, you have to be fucking very careful with how you interact. Otherwise, you're
agree.
gonna have degenerate society. I don't give a fuck about. Oh, it's all fun and games. No, I don't give a shit.
But you do also have to
Like,
realize
the
too
fucking-
that opinion isn't widespread through that of standard society anymore. Unfortunately, that's a Puritan view of society writ large nowadays. And the reality is, if he's claiming, for example, to be having had conversations associated to gaming politic, some crude humor, even none of that is outside of the pale. It's not outside of the Overton window. It's just not. And so to attempt to execute him for those conversations is thoroughly
No one's-
unacceptable.
No one's trying to execute him. It's literally just like putting someone in check. If you're being a fucking creep, you should be put into check. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're the most famous streamer in the world.
But none of those concepts, at least as he stated, even again with jokes in mind, none of those concepts go outside of the Overton window, and they certainly shouldn't be having him put in check because of them. If people want to make a bigger stink out of that, then they need to be addressing society writ large. It's an issue within that of what we've normalized as society, and if we want that to not be a thing, then it just needs to not be a thing. But we shouldn't be having double standards associated to individuals regardless of level of fame, because again, if they could do this to somebody as famous as Dr. Disrespect, they could do it to you and me, and we just wouldn't get the same level of coverage whatsoever. We would just disappear. We would get stuffed into the darkest corner of the room and be gone. The conversations that I've had with Bruins and Men's, there's nothing intended by them whatsoever, but they're definitely not PG-13, by far and wide. I call them
They
faggots
should be.
on a regular basis, but that's because this is just the way that society has overall
Have you
morphed.
ever shopped at the main ingredient?
Calling someone a faggot is a completely different. It's a whole different.
Telling a kid to
ballgame.
suck a dick isn't even outside of the Overton window, and it hasn't been since like
That's
2010.
awful. It's not really.
You've done it
Something
on
that you should
fucking
be-
on WoW, I'm sure. That's what I'm saying.
No,
This is the
I'll
part
tell
and
people to
parcel,
kill themselves, shit like that. But no,
which is
not
arguably
gonna
just
be,
as bad, especially to a teenager who has a high suicide rate as it stands. I'm not necessarily trying to equate these things. What I'm trying to suggest is that we say things all the fucking time to minors across the metaverse, across the internet landscape, in which case are thoroughly unacceptable, but we do it anyways because it's just whatever. It's a part of gaming culture. Like that is something, and it's something that should not be underwritten in society. At this point, we have normalized this over the last 15 plus years of technological advancement. This is what it is.
I mean, it's not. You have to think about it, dude. Like, when I play shit like WoW, when I play any games, I'm not playing with kids.
Not
Like,
intentionally.
I actively try to avoid it.
Yeah, not intentionally. But there may be kids in your clan, in which case you suggest, oh, somebody needs to suck a dick, and they see that.
No, we never go into conversations like that. Like, that's not stuff that any of the adults in my guild or anybody that I'm in Discord, that's not how we talk to each other.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like, it's not even almost, like, that's never,
Think of it like this, right?
it's just not how it is.
You, Patterman, Icon, what the fuck, Xavier, etc. There have been conversations that occurred with you guys in the chat that you guys were engaging in, while Men's and or Ruins and or Isaiah and or a variety of these other kids that happen to gravitate around my fucking friend group for whatever reason, acceptance probably. But for whatever reason, right, they're in there, and one way or the other, conversations that are in some way crude and or against that of what a teenager should be hearing happened. And it's happened many times. And it doesn't necessarily have to even be directed towards them, but the idea that you're kind of purporting is that, I mean, again, of a Puritan
That's why I
concept.
don't play with, that's why I don't invite them.
Yeah, agreed.
If you have people in your party, just to not be rude, I'm not going to fucking kick them.
Yeah.
But yes, I do not feel comfortable having people that are like even 16. Like, I don't have no interest in being in a party with them.
But my point isn't
Like, the
that
people-
they're,
the people that I play
around
with
you. The point is,
Are in their mid 20s, 30s.
but that-
that's
again,
the
that's
people
not the
that
point,
I can
Brandon.
relate to. That
The-
is though.
no, the point is, would you consider Icon, would you consider Patterman or Xavier to be regular guys? You wouldn't consider them to be pedophiles or deviants associated to, I mean, they're fucking deviants because they play Ark, but outside of that, they're not like sexual deviants or miscreants of society. And yet they still
No, because we
check
don't talk about
themselves.
that shit. Like, that's like, we don't talk about shit like that ever. Like, that's not how we conversate ever. Like, when we're gaming, we're talking about gaming. We're not talking about
Generally
any
speaking,
like
yes.
weird shit.
But regardless, the whole point behind this, one way or the other, regardless of personal associations or what have you, because one way or the other, whether or not it's like desired or what have you, we've all fucking engaged in this banter between teenagers, between, hell, in some cases even kids, and in which case it's just normalized in society. We can argue as to whether or not that's good or bad. I think it's bad. I happen to agree
It
with you
isn't
here.
though. It just isn't. Out of all the people that I play with that are all like adults, 99.9% of conversations have nothing sexual in nature ever.
It doesn't have
Ever.
to be sexual. That's my point. It doesn't have to be sexual to be inappropriate.
Oh, hello.
That's the whole point. Inappropriate by context is such an overarching term, yet it's what's ultimately being used to bury somebody, and that's
Do you
a
think he
fucking
was?
problem.
Do you think he was talking to this person, this minor, about taxes? Do you think that's
It
what the
could be,
whole
but probably
thing?
not
You
that.
think that's what the whole thing came up from? No.
I would anticipate it was
Do you
more.
think
It was more
because he
closely
was talking
associated
to
to
them
jokes.
about?
Have to take time to repair my armor.
That's what I would. That's what I would assess this to be.
How are you?
By all accounts, by everything that he's actually stated, that happens to fit the bill. Even with even within the confines of the original Twitter post, that still fits the bill. Now, I'm not even going to go so far as to suggest that it has to be jokes of a sexual nature either.
It's you.
There are plenty of, like, dead baby jokes are thoroughly inappropriate. No question. They're inappropriate for fucking everybody. But they are there. You can super jump in this game. You just need a tiny bump. That's fucking hilarious. How did I never know this?
The point that I'm making is that's just not normal conversations though. Like, never once have I been in a party with anybody that I normally play with, like on WoW, on Ark, anything like that. They're not talking about dead babies. They're not talking about fucking sex or any of that other shit.
What
Like,
can I interest you in?
that's the
Fair,
thing. Like,
yeah.
that's not people. Like, that's not the comedy that people lean towards. Like, that's not a.
That I have to disagree
I don't
with.
know.
People generally
That's-
tend to lean towards the comedy that's the most offensive. Broadly
No,
written.
that's not. From my active personal experience, that is not. Maybe in yours, maybe that's the people that you're around, but the people I'm around, no. Like, we
Good day.
never veer into that
Have a look
direction.
around. You won't find better prices in all town.
Like, it's just, it's an uncomfortable thing for fucking like
Bye.
sexual topics aren't like haha penis, haha vagina. No fucking adult finds shit like that funny.
Well,
Like, it's
not,
just
again, that I don't know why that's being the focus, because that's not what I'm insinuating here. What I'm insinuating, generally speaking, is the fact that uncomfortable topics, such as, for example, terrorists being murdered, that's been, like, look at Jeffrey Dunham. Jeff Dunham. One of his fucking puppets is a dead Taliban suicide bomber. That's thoroughly inappropriate, but yet it's still in the limelight, and it's been mainstream for years. That's more or less what I'm getting at. The topic in itself is inappropriate, and yet it is still mainline, mainstream, and yet nobody has an issue with it because brutal jokes that come from Ahmed the dead terrorist, they're funny. And majority of people happen to have a similar humor towards those. There's very few people that think that Jeff Dunham is not funny. Well, I mean, as a ventriloquist, you know what I mean? I wouldn't argue that he's actually all that funny. It's the prop comedy that's funny. But that's the point. And you, Patterman, Icon, you guys all have a similar sense of humor.
I think that's a very fair point,
Welcome.
but that's not on a personal
You
level.
won't find
No, agreed.
Jesus in all
But
It's not
parroting
as
that to a
personal
minor
as being
isn't...
in direct messages to a kid.
Which,
you know?
yeah, I agree. There is a certain boundary that's crossed there, and there has to be a large amount of responsibility on the adult. But I was just clarifying this like last night to Ruins. We were having a conversation about his future and like his future prospects with that of Job Corps and ultimately what I hope to be relative to his life. In that I just want to be a good influence on him. Broadly speaking, I want him to be included. I want him to have a sense of community, and I want it, which is a huge portion of why I don't censor myself so directly with him. Because in order for and this is a really weird thing, but it is a thing, and it's something that we've noted even in psychology. But the power dynamic that exists between an adult and their child, for example, is a very distinct one. An adult and their child should never feel like friends. However, an adult and another person's child can absolutely make that connection and have done so for thousands of years. And there's a reason for that. As those teens, whether male or female, as they start to grow and they start to be, they get onto that borderline threshold of being an adult, or what we would generally, in average parlance consider to be a young adult, we start including them in more and more serious conversations. We may talk to them about a world event that happened that ultimately isn't something that a kid should be worried about, but we may talk to them about it. We may also include crude humor. That's a thing. Now, again, we can argue as to whether or not that's appropriate or what have you, but in my life, and yours too, especially around Jake, his family, and what have you, that was something that we were exposed to on a regular basis. And it did change us in ways, and it did change our humors in ways, but it didn't change us in ways that fucking broke our fragile little minds or anything like that. It didn't turn us into sexual miscreants because we heard a sexual joke once or twice. It didn't do that. It's an induction into standard society, contemporary society that exists around us regardless of whether or not we're aware of it. That's why
Although
we have
I would
a
not say
term.
I was a good kid. I would say that if I was surrounded by,
Probably not.
Can I interest
adults that
you?
were, let's say for example, if I was surrounded by adults that were scholars and they all spent most of their time doing scientific research, shit like that. I was exposed to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Chances are that kid would grow up to be in some form a scientist,
Very likely.
Same thing as any sort of professional athlete. If their kid is exposed to that, chances are that kid's going to end up being an athlete. You have a kid around a lot of drugs growing up, they're probably going to be a druggie. You have a kid around a lot of crime, they're probably going to be a criminal.
Either way, in this context, yes, obviously we're gonna run into a bit of nature versus nurture, right? But what I'm suggesting is, with respect to inappropriate as the term that's been being used to condemn Dr. Disrespect, I think that the burden of proof for society
more
writ
narrow.
large needs to be more narrow. People should not be going to war over that term being used in conjunction with that of the word minor. It has no fucking bearing because of how many things it could mean and how many things that are inappropriate that are normalized in society writ large are. And again, I don't like making this argument, but I have to make this argument in all fairness, because I would be dude, if this were the case and this was what society actually deemed as inappropriate and like imprisonable, for example, I'd have been imprisoned fucking years ago. Because I don't really censor myself around teenagers per se as much as I should. Fair enough. But I also, and you know this as well, just as every single individual that is a teenager currently knows this, I don't have any negative associations to like what may be said
Just
and their well-being. Not in the fucking slightest. I love kids to bits and pieces. I enjoy engaging with them because it allows me to, in some sense, truly be myself. I am a childish person, and I enjoy not taking things too seriously. It's just the way that I enjoy living my life. And that's not to say that you have to do that either. I don't have any burden of expectation that you engage with Ruins or Men's or Isaiah or any of their, their little cabal in the same format that I do. But I do appreciate that when it comes to me trying to include them and play games with them, etc., even if just for like Ark's sake, especially with Men's initially, it's just a warm body. It's a warm body on a controller that can help in something like a raid, which is ultimately the initial intention to begin with, until things became more personal, where it's like, yeah, I would consider Men's to be my friend. I would consider that. And I would consider Ruins to be a good friend of mine as well. Despite the fact that he and I consistently go back and forth in positive and negative associations, and he infuriates me beyond all fucking reason sometimes, it is still a true statement, I think. I care about him. And I care about his well-being in future. And if somebody were to hurt him, I would hurt them in ways that are unconscionable. I've thought about doing the exact same thing to his dad. But that's the point, right? He is a kid. And regardless of whether or not the concepts that we discuss, or, the topics we discuss are truly appropriate for his age or otherwise, there is still that paternal instinct to protect him, right? I would never put him in harm's way. And I have no insinuation or no doubt in my mind that Dr. Disrespect, in his particular communication with X person, being presumably 17 years old, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he had no intentions of harming this person, sexually or otherwise. I have no doubt in my mind that that was not even a freckle of a thought in his mind. I just don't.
I don't know.
I don't.
I can't
see
say
that.
the same. I cannot say the same because I don't know him personally. I don't know him beyond whatever facade he puts on to be an internet personality.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But even then, there's
I'm not going to sit there and say he's a good person.
I
don't fucking
can't go
know.
that far either. I can't go that far either. But what I will say is that he seems to be a relatively well-adjusted person. Relatively well. He's engaged in the public sphere for a decade, and he has not had any other associative problems with people. If there were other issues that pointed to this problem, it would have come out by now. You know what I mean? Like, it's the way that the fucking internet works. You make a mistake and you have a history of making these kinds of mistakes, you get buried by them immediately. And I've yet to see that,
I
but
don't
I've
know.
also yet
Because
to
you
see
have
any
shit like
direct
Leonardo
correlations.
DiCaprio.
What is it, citizen?
You have shit like Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's dating girls that are like just turned 18. That's fucking weird.
Oh yeah,
I don't give a
that's
fuck how
absolutely
successful you are.
disgusting.
Anything like that, like I'd say it's pretty much a similar circumstance with that. Whereas maybe it's not illegal, but if he's hitting on a fucking 16, 17-year-old, maybe they're not maybe it's not illegal in their jurisdiction. That's
No,
fucking
so
weird.
here's where
It's a fucking creep.
here's where I'm actually disputing that as an even possibility. The laws that I quoted earlier, 28.8.2.
You're not a legal scholar though.
No, but this is just as is written, right? It's very fucking clear. It
They're
does
not
not
made
matter.
to be very clear.
Well, no,
That's not how
these
laws work. That's why you have lawyers.
Agree. But these laws are spoken in terms of 18. There is no assessment, and I believe the actual age of consent is 16 in California. But between adults and a minor, that's not the same. It's 18. The consideration for 16, as far as I'm able to understand, would be for that of teenage relationships. Kind of similar to what it's like here in Arizona, to a certain extent. The law is technically age of consent being set at 18. However, there's considerations made for teenage relationships. Within the 2-year mark, an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old can date to the day of the birth. Other than that, it's considered statutory rape. And honestly,
Like I wouldn't
I would
expect
argue...
a 17 and 18-year-old or 16 and 17-year-old have to break up when
No, that's just
they
unreasonable.
turned 17 and 18.
Yeah, that's just unreasonable. Because honestly, I would even honestly stretch this to like 16, 14, especially if the male is the older of the two, because that generally tends to be associative to maturation. But that's why these laws are there and why we have some measure of gray area for teenagers.
Engage and destroy.
That said, though, these particular laws, they are static associated to adults and teenagers, being that it is 18 flat cutout. That is the way that these laws are written, and it's verbatim. And that also extends, by the way, to the federal 2422 subsection B of Title 18. It's also associated to a flat 18-year-old age group. Anything beyond that is considered punishable within this criminal statute. So, and by the way, flirting is covered in one or both of these laws. That's the cut and dry aspect. The sexual approaching of an individual from the age of 18 and beyond to somebody under the age of 18, especially from the federal statute, Title 18, that is in fact covered underneath those statutes. So if those things were happening and he was directly flirting with that of said 17-year-old underage person, which I think the presumption at this point is that it was a female, but regardless, doesn't really matter. If that's the case, then that would have been investigated and passed off by NCREC or whatever the fuck, which is like the childhood abuse something. It's like some big ass acronym. But it was passed off from Twitch LER to them, and they did nothing with it, which seems to suggest that there wasn't any actual wrongdoing, both in form and facet. Why do people send me fucking videos of them smoking weed? Why is that a thing? We're beating a dead horse, but it is an interesting conversation, I think, writ large. I think that we do need to be... Number one, we need to be far more specific. I think that that's a thing. In terms of legal recourse, people need to understand that if you're going to assign terms like pedophile, there needs to be legal fucking cause for it. That's not a term that should be thrown around loosely. And as it stands, the burden of evidence necessary would be on Twitch and or that of Cody Connors to make that assessment. And none of them have levied that as a title worthy of being levied. And also, I do have a substantial issue with the notion that the guy who initially leveraged these accusations, he was trying to sell fucking concert tickets with the idea. Like, what the fuck is that? It could be too, and this is something that I'm a bit actually more stalwart in suggesting. It could be too that Dr. Disrespect wanted to make that statement via Twitter to finally be able to clear the air as to what the fuck happened with Twitch. Get people to start reporting on it, talking about it, and genuinely just allowing him to speak on it, considering he did have a binding legal agreement not to do so first. So that could be an aspect of this. And it wouldn't be entirely unreasonable, because in terms of fame, that is something that would garner some measure of viewer increase, right? People want to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think his best course of action is put the fucking conversations out there.
Yeah, definitely. Because if it turns out to be just a bunch of edgy jokes, I don't care. I don't care. Like, that's just the reality of the matter. It's gonna rub some people the wrong way. Fair enough. But there's absolutely no reason that somebody should be canceled over a series of humor that, especially if they're like, you know, mainstream jokes or whatever, stuff that you could hear from anybody at this point. If they're that, then nah, sorry. yeah, we may have a fucking poison that's virulent in society, but that's that's no reason to condemn somebody who, as famous as Dr. Disrespect for engaging in it. Look at Tim the Tatman for that kind of thing. He's engaged in edgy humor repetitively throughout his career as a streamer, although it's certainly not like sexually.
Morning.
It doesn't lean towards like sexual concepts or topics. It does definitely lead to, you know, things that just shouldn't be. He makes content for the majority of people being kids. Like, that's just what he does. As do basically anybody that streams on Twitch, Kick, etc.
Well, only quality goods for sale here. What? Good day.
What's my armor skill at? $41. Okay. Actually not bad. I need to get that higher, and I think I can get it trained here.
Welcome to A Fighting Chance. You've got a lot to learn.
Yep.
Hey, it's good. Bye.
Okay. Gonna go do the arena.
Over.
Yo,
Yeah, what up,
Were
Adam?
you wanting to play or screw around a little bit?
potentially. I don't even know if I even have it downloaded right now.
This guy, what the fuck?
I thought we were not gonna play. I thought we were gonna wait until extinction. But
I invited you yesterday. You didn't join. Well, big.
I saw you invited me. I don't know why I didn't. I didn't fucking realize until today. I was like, hey, didn't Hatter invite me last night? I have a very short-term memory when it comes to Xbox party invites or messages.
Tell.
You haven't run.
Just
home.
kidding.
All right, maggot.
Dude, that's
Looks like
crazy.
you're suited up in your
There's
battle.
another $27 pack you get to buy.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like, you don't have to buy it, but it gives you shit.
on ASA.
Yeah.
What does it give you?
Well, I know there's like a stupid fucking robot
People of the Imperial City,
Oh
that
yeah,
like
yeah.
arms through you.
to the arena.
So now it's just explicitly becoming pay to win.
I don't know, but I'm buying it.
You're fucking degen.
Let the battle begin.
I say that with respectfully.
Do you have it downloaded?
I'm checking right now.
9310. Sure.
Good people, we have a winner. All hail the combatant from the blue team. Victor from the blue team.
I don't know. Seems like we could just have a little bit of fun.
You
Possibly. Not really fun though. Fuck, I have.
I do
Application.
not have it downloaded. Do I have enough room? I do not.
What the hell?
All right, time to go through and see what I have to delete. I know Sea of Thieves I can get rid of. I don't have Game Pass.
That's probably all you need. Oh, I don't know. It's 123 gigs now after the update. It's right up there with ASE now.
Sea of Thieves is actually a fun game. That shit's actually really fun.
I never really enjoyed it. So why is the ob getting camped my PvE? Bro, fuck off. I'm not even getting killed like by the main shit. It's a Microraptor, bro.
The whole fucking Microraptor.
Like, actually, fuck off. Nobody loves you besides Nova. $93.52.
Alright, I uninstalled fucking Sea of Thieves and somehow it didn't free up any space.
Get fucked. I'll be right back.
Tyler, you
Free up
don't
space.
you don't drink energy drinks or coffee, do you?
Why?
Just wondering.
All the above?
Do you? Do you prefer energy drinks or do you prefer coffee?
Honestly, depends on the mood, but probably energy drinks. Why do you ask?
One more question. When you buy your coffee, do you get it from a store? Do you go to Starbucks or like how do you go about
Probably the
that?
store.
Okay. See, I
Not a
was
huge-
asking.
A huge on
Because-
Starbucks.
I noticed a hole in the coffee market. Whereas
What's that?
I don't see any coffee companies advertising to gamers. Like it's all this G Fuel, Prime Energy, whatever the fuck all that other shit is. It's like all these sugary fucking shit drinks.
So you want to start
And-
like a little company going
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, that's exactly. Like I kind of want to make a coffee company that's focused on advertising to gamers
I want to be a bad idea. I'm gonna be completely honest.
because so when I got when I got rank 1 in the world for like a few months straight, the one thing that was consistent every fucking time is I had my coffee. Every time I would raid, I had my coffee. And I would say that had a huge portion of like my success during the time. Because it gave me that boost of fucking focus that I needed. Sure, I was good at my class and all that, but you know, I had to have something to help me perform. So,
Not a terrible idea, actually. To be honest.
like me, yes, I'll have energy drinks, but I prefer coffee. Like black coffee is my go-to.
Yeah.
And it's much more affordable than energy drinks. Spend $12, you have coffee for a fucking 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Spend $12 on energy drinks, you have fucking maybe 2 cans of energy drinks.
I mean, how would you approach like starting that? I guess.
So I would go with the low cost approach. I found a distributor to drop ship, and they white label it, so they'll put your brand, logo, all that shit on it. And it's $30 a month to be one of their customers or clients. And then Shopify stores $30 a month.
That's only 10. They raised it that much?
Something like that. I don't know. I have all the numbers written down somewhere, but I believe in general it is $70 a month to operate, just basic operation costs of keeping things running, and then any additional costs is advertising.
I mean, advertising's not very hard.
Right.
I know you don't like have TikTok or anything, but make like 10 profiles and just do it all.
Yeah.
You'll actually get a lot more than you think.
But yeah. I think that it might actually be I think it might actually be worth to try it out.
100%. It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. So I'm gonna steal the idea real quick. Let me just write it.
You know, I haven't been telling too many people about it because of that reason exactly.
$100 a month. Okay. Yeah, you're fucked, buddy.
Yeah. We'll compete.
Alright, only way I don't do this, I get 50% of the profits, buddy.
So if you do nothing, you get 50%.
No, I might help out a little bit here and there. I don't want to spawn here.
But yeah, so me and Brandon, we had a company that we started before, but we went about it the wrong way, and I never pulled the trigger on actually selling anything because I didn't believe in the products that we had. But I have the experience of like building a Shopify store and all that other stuff, all the paperwork that's involved.
Would you guys start?
It was Southwest Outdoor Supply. It was supposed to be a outdoor, like, it's in the name. It's supposed to be like an outdoor supplies company. But everything that we had on the website was from like AliExpress, Alibaba, shit like that.
Are you talking about
And-
Southwest Outdoor Supply?
I am.
Ah, I still have that email handle too. It's funny.
And yeah, the main issue that I had with actually like going forward with selling anything is when it comes to outdoor supplies and shit, you want to have high quality stuff. Like you don't want to be having some shit that breaks on you, especially if you're like actually using it for camping or where your life can actually be on the line. I don't want to be selling shitty products.
Yeah. So,
But
You know,
Brandon,
Brandon,
I don't
I
know if
wouldn't
you
mind.
heard.
I wouldn't mind at this point reassessing that particular goal. Truth be told,
Well, I was just telling Patter about a different idea that I have.
what's
And
that?
I asked you a couple weeks ago how you felt about coffee versus energy drinks and how there's a hole in the coffee market when advertising to gamers. I was thinking about starting a fucking coffee drop shipping company
That would be interesting.
By the 9 divines, you did it.
advertised
You
towards
actually
gamers.
did. Okay, so
It's just so much fucking healthier for you too. Truth be told, drinking black coffee compared to drinking an energy drink, despite having very similar effects in terms of actual energy levels, right? The reality is, actual caffeine increases that of blood flow to an individual's body, acting almost as though it's a blood thinner. By contrast, all of the various chemicals that exist within that of an energy drink, we don't know exactly what they do, but things like aspartame, they're known by the state of California to aid in causing cancer. So I have a severe disagreement with their use as widespread as it is.
Yeah, that's another thing. I would never like sit there and slander anything like energy drink companies. Like, if energy drinks are your thing, it's your thing.
Oh yeah,
I can
fair,
respect that.
fair. But that
However-
doesn't mean that you can't use it in some sloganeering aspects where it's like, no, caffeine is just objectively healthier for a human being.
Yeah. Well, I want to put that towards my marketing thing. Like, my main marketing strategy would be just like anything, like in sales, you want to be selling the outcome. You don't want to be selling the product itself as much. Like, yeah, there's certain aspects where you obviously want to have a good product and you want to have it be better than others. However, you should be selling the outcome. So, like, I've operated as rank 1 in the world, my class on WoW, and like I told Patter, coffee was a big factor in that. Like, being able to be reactive, be fucking quick, easy, like just have my brain actually be able to keep up. Like, coffee was really there for me. Fucking helped.
Coffee was always there for me. That's a funny statement, but I know what you mean. I play like ass in the morning when I don't have my coffee on COD. I just play like dick.
Yeah.
There's actually
I've-
some pretty cool things in here. I'm not gonna lie.
On ASA.
Yeah. So like, there's an embryo stored, so I believe that like you can take the embryos out of shit.
Yeah.
Like your tanks.
Gestation. Let me
Cool.
From the blue team, leave the arena
Okay.
now and rest. You've
So-
earned it.
the numbers that I have, they're actually very competitive with my distributor that I found, like comparative to stores. So a 12-ounce package is $9.39 or 78 and a quarter, 78 cents and a quarter per ounce. If someone were to order a 2-pound package, it is
So
19.
what makes your coffee special?
Nothing. Coffee is coffee. If someone tells you that, oh, my coffee was made from the plants of the gods, no.
They're
all
lying.
coffee is going to be coming from the same general distributor.
Well,
The main thing
the
is,
plantations.
can you so I would say that actually
It's my
the best thing to sell
No,
as far
no.
as
Hey, it. No.
like why a certain coffee is better, it would be more so going towards taste or like strength. So you could really tailor it to the experience. Like, let's say someone's playing an MMO
Have a look
where
around.
you're going to be
You will
grinding.
find
You don't
better
need to be
prices in
like
all Tamriel.
super fucking hyper focused like if you were playing a FPS,
Yeah.
but you do want to have some coffee to keep you going.
Yeah.
So you
naturally.
could probably tailor, let's say, our MMO blend,
You
or
Yeah.
if you need something that's going to be like, it's going to have you fucking there in the moment.
Wired.
Maybe have something specifically for FPS games.
Yeah, like
think
when
that
I
would be
when
the
I really
thing.
want to focus down, I drink my lighter blends because, well, they're more caffeine rich. So when I really need to lock in and focus up, I'd be drinking that light blend coffee. Unironically, Starbucks has a really nice light coffee mix. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So I mean, I would have to experiment with like, that is actually a really good question. What makes your
Okay.
coffee better or different?
Have a look around.
Because nobody's just
Find
gonna buy
better
like, I
prices
mean,
in all Tamriel.
like some random guy just started a
That's more
business,
than I'd usually.
just same old coffee. Nobody's like gonna really buy that if you gotta think about
I
that.
think your mic is doing something weird there, Patter.
Yeah, you're cutting
I
out a
don't know.
lot. But no, I understand that.
That
And
Walmart internet.
generally
fuck
that
up, you
is
dumb
true.
bitch.
That is generally true, but when you're in like the food industry, shit like that, The objective reality is it all comes from the same place.
Yeah.
Like, unless
To a
you're going
degree.
to like a small farmer's market to get something locally grown, almost every single
The speciation of
crop
coffee is
or
gonna be
anything like
almost
that, it's all going to
identical
come
anyways.
from the same shit.
We've basically stopped with regards to genetic modification of coffee, more or less. Like you're not going to find, aside from a very select few occurrences, you're not going to find, for example, an Arabica bean that hasn't been crossed 9 billion ways from Sunday with that of a Colombian bean. It's just not a thing.
Right.
They're all fucking identical at this point. So
Yes,
every
citizen.
general speciation that could occur has occurred at this point.
Right. And that's where I was saying, like, having specific coffees tailored to what you would want to be doing, like that is also a big thing.
Well, and here's
what it
another
would be
thing,
going
Brandon.
towards.
Here's another thing. We could as well blend or like mix our own blend, grabbing
Yes, absolutely.
and that would be far more probably lucrative in the long term for custom coffee tastes, because you can get a lot of really interesting flavor combos that may not be widely available. Like for example, I've had a raspberry vanilla coffee blend. It was fucking amazing.
Right.
There's like an undertone of chocolate as well, like cocoa, and I can't drink. I couldn't drink it on a regular basis because it was a very particular taste. You don't want to become numb to it, but the taste itself was extraordinary and rich. It was.
Oh, what the
it
hell?
was
He's
fucking
already
God.
including himself in your business.
I mean, fair enough. Not necessarily meaning to, but point being.
Well, I'd be open to having some people along the ride with me. Definitely. I just don't want it to be the same thing. Like, I feel like I let you down, Brandon, when it came to Southwest Outdoor Supply, because we did put in some effort on building the website. However, at the end of the day, like, I just didn't want to pull the trigger on actually selling shit.
Hmm.
So, because I just
So
didn't
what do you
believe
try
in the
selling?
product. It was a lot of shit. We had shit like tents, fishing supplies,
A lot
just
of
general
fishing
like outdoor
supplies.
stuff. But it was all from China, like, and it wasn't like couldn't test any of it. It's not like I could afford to buy every single one of the products and fucking test them. However, with coffee, this distributor, I can do that, and it would actually be affordable. Like, it would not cost a lot of money to go through and test all the products that they have.
Mhm.
But also, to go back on what you were saying, as far as like, nobody's just going to buy coffee from some random guy. That is 100% true. But that's where you have to actually like put in some effort towards marketing and making a brand. Like,
Yeah.
branding is what's going to sell.
Always does.
One free
Especially
brand
if you're
with
just
every
having-
purchase. You get one.
If you're just having like a general person, like, I'm not looking to sell towards just some coffee aficionado or someone that spends their weeks going around the US taste testing each coffee. Like, that's not who I would want to be selling to. Like, I would want to be providing a generally good coffee to gamers and have it tailored towards like what games
I mean,
you're
even
playing.
if just in name, like even if just in because it's obviously coffee is coffee. It doesn't matter if you're drinking Folgers or whatever. The brand associative to it is the important part. You're not wrong there. But moreover, if you're again sitting there tailoring the blend and subsequent caffeine content to a particular gaming,
Hello.
I mean, either way, it's a gimmick, but it's a gimmick that actually does make some sense.
It's not even just the caffeine content. It's also same with colors. Like, I'm pretty sure flavor can set your mood,
Yeah.
or it could emphasize a mood. Like, that's a huge thing with color palettes, is they use color palettes to emphasize or sell a
Feel
mood
free-
to someone.
Only
Where,
quality goods for sale here.
I would think
What
flavor
kind?
works in the same way.
There they
Patterman, did you ever play Oblivion, or is that before your time?